Hi everyone, hope you're well. Chris Cowlin here. Now, before we get into it, I'd just like to inform you about a new website selling quality current and retro Spurs jerseys, okjersey.com. They sell all current and retro Tottenham Hotspur shirts in all sizes. They sell the current fan and player versions, as well as the 80s and 90s retro shirts, including my very favourite, the 1991 FA Cup final shirt. You can order very easily from okjersey.com, and if you use the code Chris, you will receive an 8% discount off your final order. You can also use the QR code on the top left of your screen. And by the way, they also have some training wear here and the 25-26 colour special edition jersey. Hi everyone, hope everyone is well. My name is Chris Cowlin, and this evening I'll be joined by Craig Dearman. This is another edition of the Daily Tottenham Transfer News Show. At the time of recording now, we're now less than 3 days. 3 days to go until the window closes. Of course, it closes on Monday at 7 p.m. We're live on YouTube, live on Facebook and X. Please do get involved. Let us know what you have made of the transfer window so far. And also let us know what you think Spurs will do and what do we need to do in, under 72 hours. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're watching on YouTube, press like, comment below and turn on that notification bell so YouTube informs you every single time we upload a video and go live. And I tell you what, it has been a very busy month on this channel for videos and content. We did expect more, if I'm completely honest, more transfers coming through the door. Craig, let's say hello to you. How are you?
Hello. Yes, not too bad. A couple of windows. God, no more windows. A couple of days left in the transfer window, and as you say, we was expecting more, wasn't we? And it was just more news today about somebody going out on loan. So yeah, brilliant.
Craig, you're not very happy at the moment, are you? I feel like everyone needs to give you a hug. We need a group hug for Craig.
We do, yeah. I'm just frustrated. It's just, perhaps, I've been here before, Chris. That's the thing. I think we all have. And I just thought this window would be different. I just thought it would be different, and how wrong I was. Look, I mean, the club could surprise us all by getting some immense players over the line over the next couple of days. But, I'll believe it when I see it. It's just very, very disappointing. Very disappointing situation to be in, isn't it?
What were your expectations of this window before we get into talking about the rumours and reports today? What were your expectations of this window? Because we all know a January transfer window is very difficult. Now, Thomas Frank in his press conference today ahead of the Manchester City game said, "I can promise the Lewis family are super committed. There is no doubt about that. The club is clear. I will break a rule. We wanted to sign Semenyo. That is a big signing with finances and all of that." So he's actually come out and admitted that Spurs wanted to sign Semenyo. He's come out and said to the fan base, look, the Lewis family are super committed. He's also said it's fair to say that the transfer window is not like Football Manager. Maybe it would be more boring if it was, with less to talk about. He also went on to say about this window and the summer window, Craig. He said, for whatever reason, if we're not able to get any other players in this window, then for the summer, it is a big summer ahead. And I'm sure we will see big improvements there. Both you and I said this a number of months ago, that the one to really see where Spurs are going in terms of ambition and, driving the club forward for, future seasons ahead. Now, I don't think any of us expected Spurs to be sitting in 14th, 3 points above 17th in the Premier League, on the 30th of January, Craig. But what were your expectations of this window? Because we all know it can be very difficult, even for the big clubs sometimes.
Yeah, it is. It is. But I just thought, they've had 3 or 4 months to plan this window. And if you believe what Thomas Frank said, I mean, I've never heard him come out and say anything like that. I've never heard a manager come out and actually specifically say a player. Now, is that, if you're cynical, you could turn around and say, well, it's easy to say that sort of thing because it didn't happen. You could have said we tried to sign Lionel Messi, but it didn't happen. So I just thought it was going to be different, Chris, because, like I say, you've had 3 or 4 months to plan. Daniel Levy's kind of out the way that a lot of people will have seen as a blocker or one that got the final say on things. And I just thought we'd act with a bit more freedom in this window. and more giving like back into that thought would be the fact that we desperately need players in this window. We desperately needed attacking players in this window, and none have come through the door. And it's like, can't you see what we all can see? And it's all very well Thomas Frank saying it's going to be a big window in the summer. We need players now. I'm interested in the summer like the rest of us are, but we're actually in a transfer window now. So, and it's not impossible to get deals done. City got Semenyo in, City got Gay in. Other clubs have done business. West Ham have done a bit of business to strengthen their squad. We've brought in Conor Gallagher and Sousa. Sousa's nowhere near ready yet. Conor Gallagher has come in to replace Brennan Johnson. They haven't actually spent any money this transfer window, if you look at it like that. So it's been a bit of a disaster, really. Yes, we got Conor Gallagher through the door, good player, but it's been, we need far more. And I will. I've always said, and I think it's fair, to not comment on the transfer window until it's over and it's shut. But at the moment, it doesn't sound particularly good, does it? What Thomas Frank said, he's not talking like anybody's going to come through the door anytime soon. We hope that changes. But the way he was talking, it doesn't sound particularly promising, does it?
Yeah, I know we want people to obviously watch and listen to these shows, but it doesn't look very likely that Spurs are going to sign anybody else in this window. But let's wait and see, because if opportunities do come up in the remaining less than 72 hours now, let's wait and see. But I think it's also fair to say, and Thomas Frank was asked this in the press conference as well ahead of the City game, that are we weaker now than when the window started? And he said that's a fair point, and we are great because of the amount of injuries that we've got. On the injury front, Thomas Frank is hoping to have Porro and Richarlison back for the North London derby on the 22nd of Feb. He said that would be a dream scenario that could happen, but we will know a little bit more when we get closer. But that is in that bracket. Reports in Germany are stating that Matthijs Tel is set to stay at Spurs. Of course, there has been a lot of speculation about the France under-21 forward possibly going out on loan to FC Paris, but it now looks like that he is staying at Spurs. Of course, Thomas Frank said that we can't lose any more players, but interestingly, Dane Scarlett has today, it's been confirmed by Spurs that he's gone out on loan to Hibernian. Hibernian are absolutely delighted with signing him on loan until the end of the season. Head coach David Gray, on signing Scarlett, he said Dane is a player with real talent, fantastic attributes, and he will provide a genuine goal threat in the forward areas of the pitch with his pace and his technique. We're delighted to get Dane into the building and looking forward to working with him over the next 6 months. It's funny, Craig, when I read that, I thought, yeah, we could do with someone like that as well.
It's funny that, isn't it? Yeah, it is funny that. Yeah, it's just such a weird one. I know, look, Dane Scarlett has not had many minutes under Thomas Frank, or a lot of managers, to be honest with you. But to let another forward go out on loan when we're so light in that position at the moment, it just seems like another really weird one to me. Whenever Dane's come on, he's looked quite bright, I thought.
Yeah.
I thought he's just given us something a bit different.
Does that tell you that perhaps we will go out and sign someone in the next 72 hours, or does it say to you that perhaps we've got other players coming back sooner rather than later from injury?
Well, it could be, but, you're talking about strikers. Dane's a centre forward. Yeah. And Richarlison, you heard it there from Thomas Frank, he's not going to be back till at least the end of February, it seems. So,
yeah,
we're kind of one injury away from being a bit of a disaster. Obviously, Kalamuani wanted to go out on loan, and there was talk of Juventus. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. But, good goal, definitely in the week. But he's not, he's failed to adjust to the Premier League, has he? So, yeah, what Thomas Frank was right. We're in a weaker position now than we were on January the 1st. And there was something I was reading, just talking about forward-thinking players. Sky Sports Germany have claimed that forward Matthijs Tel will look to quit the club if Frank isn't sacked because of unfair treatment. So there's a bit of unrest there, isn't there? So obviously Tell wanting to go out on loan as well. It's not good, is it? It's not good.
Let's move on to a story. Breaking news actually in the last hour or so from Bloomberg, stating that businessman Daniel Levy is in talks to sell his nearly 30% stake in the group that owns Tottenham Hotspur to a consortium that includes Hong Kong businessman Ing Wing Fai. According to people familiar with the matter, Daniel Levy, who was ousted as executive chairman of Premier League team Tottenham last year, is in discussions to sell his stake for around £1 billion, the equivalent of $1.4 billion. One of the people said, asking not to be identified as the information is private. This report then goes on to say that most of the capital is coming from a number of Asian business tycoons. The people said the names of the consortium could not immediately be learned. Craig, what do you make of this?
It's very interesting. And unless I got my names mixed up, I think the guy leading this was one of the guys that put in a bid to buy the club in the summer, because there was 3 bids when there was Brooklyn Eric, that chap you mentioned, and somebody else who I can't remember. Was it a Singapore consortium or might have been Qataris? But I think he was definitely one of them, unless I'm getting my names mixed up. So it's odd, isn't it, that Daniel Levy wants to sell his stake in Spurs, but then again, if it's worth $1 billion and he's not working at the club anymore, then why not? Why not? I think Daniel Levy just wants to cut all ties, even though I think his son is on the board of ENIC, isn't he? So is that really going to put not a spanner in the works, but is that going to upset ENIC, him selling to somebody completely different? Would ENIC want to buy him out completely? That is a bit of a strange one, isn't it? And what does that mean longer term? It means somebody's got a big stake in Spurs. They were talking about minority shares, weren't they? Minority stake in the club. Yeah. And it looks like if this goes through, somebody will have that. So is this leading on to a bigger sale, a total sale of Tottenham Hotspur to this consortium eventually? I just do wonder if that's going to happen if this deal gets done.
Yeah, I just, there are so mmany changes. There have been so many changes. There were a lot of changes under Ange Postecoglou while he was manager for the 2 years, but there has been so many changes. Under the management of Thomas Frank since the start of the season. That's going to be a very interesting situation on how that will unfold. Tottenham have earned over £42.6 million in Champions League prize money after beating Frankfurt to reach the last 16 of the competition. You would hope and expect, Craig, that a lot of this money would go into recruitment again and top quality players coming in.
Yeah, you would hope. We all hope. And that's earnings by the club that can go straight into, there's no FFP on PSR things because it's something that the club have earned, as far as I'm aware, anyway, through revenue, the competition revenue. So, look, we're not seeing it at the moment, are we? This 100 million, 150 million pound war chest that they had to spend. Where is it? What's going on with that? And then they've earned this money as well. So that's near 200 million. You'd think Spurs have got to spend. So on top of anything else that they, we've got a bit of headroom there with FFP and all that. So we seem to be very sort of cash rich in that regard. So we just want them to do better, don't we?
I was going to say, Craig, that Thomas Frank on a number of occasions seems so confident that that the club, the manager, are going to really back him in the summer transfer window. Do you, I asked you about the expectations of this January window. Surely the expectations of the summer window are absolutely huge for a lot of Tottenham fans.
It will be now. As Daniel Levy's gone, loads of changes at the club. They want to go in a different direction, and that would mean to me acting differently to what they've done in the past, looking at, removing the wage caps, paying better wages for players, bringing in ready now players. So it's going to be huge. I mean, whether Thomas Frank is still at the club in the summer remains to be seen, of course. But I mean, I've seen people mention on X and online, is it the fact we're not signing loads of players because they don't think Thomas Frank's going to be there and they don't want to spend money buying the players that he wants in? I mean, that could be probably a valid reason why we're not doing it, but I would counter that by saying, regardless of who your manager is going to be, you can definitely bring in players. I mean, that's what the director of football's job is, to bring in players for the club, not necessarily for the manager. And there's certain players out there that could do a job for any manager. I don't care what anybody says. There are certain Frank type players or Ange type players or whatever. But, we still need to be bringing in players this window, because if the results don't go our way in February and West Ham pick up points or whoever, we could be in a relegation scrap by March. Yeah. So they've got to do something.
It has been a really tough season for us as fans. It's been a tough season for Thomas Frank. And if you look over the last couple of weeks, the booing and the chants towards Thomas Frank in particular against West Ham at home, losing 2-1, that was a toxic atmosphere. And then, of course, we won 2-0 in the Champions League against Dortmund. Really good performance. I don't think a lot of people expected that, but it was a really, really decent performance. Chalk and cheese to what we had a couple of days before. And then, of course, we went away at Burnley. Very, very nearly lost. Romero got a last-minute equaliser for us, 2-2, gained a point. A lot of fans were singing about Thomas Frank again. The most toxic, I've seen it actually, especially in the away end. And then, of course, we go to Frankfurt. Very professional performance, very good performance, getting another 2-0 win, finishing fourth in the Champions League. I tell you what, Craig, we as Spurs fans have got to really celebrate when we have moments like this, because we haven't had many moments at all like this. I could think probably the Man City away game when everyone was on a real high thinking that it was going to be a really good season for us. And then, of course, that huge decline. But what have you made of Spurs in the Champions League compared to what we've been like in the Premier League? Because it has been so different. Of course, we're on a high, and it does remind me a little bit of last season in the Europa League. Of course, Ange put all the eggs in the basket, but I think that was a realistic aim that Spurs could win the Europa League. Is it a realistic aim that Spurs could win the Champions League?
I'd love it. Well, I think we'd all love it, whether it's realistic or not. I think that's personal opinion. I don't probably think it is. The interesting thing, you say the similarities. I think if you look at the actual results and the points and everything, it's exactly the same as our group stage in the Europa League. Exactly the same.
Yeah, played 8, won 5, drawn 2, lost 1. Same amount of goals and everything. It's very
everything.
Weird.
Yeah. It's one of those strange things, and some people will take that as an omen and say, oh God, we're going to go all the way. And you know what? It's like Ange always used to say, let them dream. Let them dream. That's what football's about. That's what sport's about. You've got to have a dream, haven't you? If you don't have a dream, how are you going to have a dream come? Oh no, that was out of Only Fools and Horses. But you know what I mean. It's, you've got a dream. That's what it's about, isn't it? Believe. So if you want to believe we're going to win the Champions League, why not? Why not? Just put it out there. It's going to be a hell of a task. Let's be honest. But we're in there. We're in with a shout. We're a ball in a hat, so to speak. So, and we're awaiting the winners of the playoff games. And there's definitely some tough ones there. Juventus, Galatasaray, Atletico, or Club Bruges. So it's going to be tough just to get through the last 16 tie, isn't it? Let alone the quarters and semis and get into the final. But of course, Spurs could do it. I don't think they will, but it'd be fantastic if they could. But going back to what you said, the Champions League has been, I think, a nice breakaway from the league for the players. It's been, admittedly, the teams we've beaten, bar Dortmund, you could say, were a lower opposition, but that's not Spurs' problem. You've still got to beat them. You've got to go out and put in performances, and in the majority we have. Even Monaco, we could go through every game, but we were lucky in Monaco to get the draw. Bodo, again, lucky to get a draw. Didn't play particularly well that night. Villarreal, the keeper, threw one in his own net. And you could look at all that, but we've still got to get the points on the board, and we did. And it, as you say, it was a very professional performance in the week. Yeah. Well done for Thomas Frank for that. You've got to give praise and kudos where it's due, and he's definitely due praise for that. So all we can do is just carry on and keep trying in the Champions League and hope that a miracle can occur. But I still come back to it. Your bread and butter is the domestic competitions, the Premier League, the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup. And we've just been, it's just a different beast, isn't it? And the Premier League especially, it just goes to show the quality in the Premier League and how we've been found out in multiple games this season. And he's got to turn that around.
If Thomas Frank and Tottenham finished 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, does he keep his job without a European, without the Champions League win, winning the trophy? Does he keep his job? Because when they said what they did when they sacked Ange, we want to be fighting on all fronts. We were out of the League Cup very early, out of the FA Cup early, and yes, it's been a good run so far in the Champions League, and them winning a lot of prize money in the Champions League so far. But does he keep his job? Because do they have a different approach to a manager? Because they obviously want this to be long term. And let me also ask you: have you changed your mind, even if it's 1%? Has it made you scratch your head a little bit more, thinking, can it work under Thomas Frank? Because, like you've just said as well, league games, 4 really tough league games coming up in Feb. Man City, Man United, Newcastle, Arsenal, 4 tough games. We've got to be climbing a Premier League table, haven't we? We've got to take that form and that attitude and that desire into these Premier League games.
Yeah, absolutely. Firstly, does he keep his job? I don't think if we did finish in those positions, I think they've got to make a change. If he's still here at the end of the season, I think they've got to make a change, because that's not competing on all fronts. And it's a poor finish, isn't it? It's an absolute poor finish. And a team like Tottenham should be challenging for the European positions every single season. And we're way off it at the moment. As for me changing my mind on Thomas Frank, no, I haven't. I said this the other night. It's just basically one game we were looking at there. I think the Champions League aside, I just think it's such a different competition in that the standard has been so different. I think Spurs got lucky with the draw. As I say, we've performed well. Even the PSG game that we ultimately lost, we did perform well in that game, but we lost. So have I changed my mind even 1%? No, I haven't. I've got to see a lot more, Chris, for me to change my mind on it. If we did so well in February and we, I don't know, picked up 9 points in February from 12, then you got to look at it and say, okay, I can see the building blocks of something here. I can see something changing, whether it be the 3 at the back that he said we all know seems to have worked quite well when we've played it. But you just need more. The sample size is too small at the moment to see any building blocks from that, because all very well we win in the week, but god-awful performance against Burnley. Although, to be fair, it wasn't too bad. We just couldn't put the ball in the net, but it wasn't the best performance. West Ham was dreadful. We don't need to go through the games. We all know what they are. So yeah, more samples needed for me.
Even though there's a lot of doubt about Thomas Frank, and we have both mentioned this as well, Craig, as individuals and as a duo on here, there's nothing I like more than when people doubt others. There's nothing I like more to see people prove people wrong, particularly Ange, when he kept saying, I always win a trophy in my second season. I absolutely loved the fact that he he proved all of those doubters wrong and he delivered that trophy. There is nothing I want to see more than Thomas Frank prove us wrong. I'd love to be saying here at the end of the season, we all got Thomas Frank wrong, and we all got the situation wrong, and he has proved us wrong. I'd love to see that. And like I've said to you many, many times, every single Spurs game, no matter who we play, whatever competition it is, I want us to win, and I want the manager to do well. So I would love to see him turn it around. I hope that he does. Let's wait and see, because as we've both said, and as a lot of people have said, a very, very tough Feb coming up with those 4 fixtures. And by the way, how many points as an absolute minimum should we be picking up?
What, in February?
Yeah.
So what do I think we need to do, or what would make me change my mind on Thomas Frank?
Both.
To make me change my mind, or to even start me changing my mind, it would be 9 points. 12. No, well, that's harsh. I would say 9.
You
I
are
would
harsh
say 9.
sometimes.
I think so, but perhaps I've just got. I don't think I've got too lofty ambitions for my club. I just think these players are not as bad. I don't think the squad is as bad and play as bad as they are. That's always been my argument. We have not got bad footballers across this squad. Yes, it needs improving, but the players aren't as bad as our league position says, even though we are where we are. So I would say 9, forget to even make me start thinking about. But the more important thing is, Chris, is the performances. The performances this season, if there'd been really good performances and we'd just been unlucky and we hadn't been getting the breaks and blah, 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 then I might have a different view completely. And obviously, as you know, I'm not the only one that thinks this. I think most people, most Spurs fans, look, if Thomas Frank turns it around, in my opinion, that would probably be the biggest turnaround by a manager ever, actually. Not just Spurs, or from what I can remember, somebody that's under so much pressure, so much stress, so much, shouting and singing. It must be horrible on a human side to hear that every week, but he's obviously made of pretty stern stuff, because he could have just thrown in the towel, but he just keeps going and going. And yeah, you're right. I want him to turn it around. I want him to prove everybody wrong and to say, look, this is what happens when you give a manager a bit of time. Personally, I can't see it at the moment. I'm just not seeing enough. I'd love to be able to get behind him and say, but I've just had enough. I've kind of went over that. It just tipped me over the edge of the Brentford game, and that was it, and he's got to do a lot to win a lot of people back, Chris.
But like I said earlier, the mood, especially at the final whistle after that West Ham game to the Dortmund game, very, very different. And then exactly the same. Walking off down the tunnel completely on his own with most of the fan base, the away fans in the end at Turf Moor, saying you're getting sacked in the morning, and all of the other chants that they were singing, to then walking straight over to the away end after the Frankfurt win and applauding the fans applauding him, lots of hugs, lots of interaction with the players walking off the pitch. It was very, very different. And I don't think I've ever known that, actually, of, such toxic atmosphere and then good scenes, and then toxic atmosphere again and then good scenes. So what we're going to see next on Sunday, let's wait and see. Let's talk about these reports, because there have been a lot of rumours and reports during this transfer window. A lot of them have been wrong. And it's funny, a lot of the journalists then have to put a lot of the aggregators, particularly on the likes of X, and they have to put things right. Michael Bridge of Sky Sports have stated that Spurs don't have any interest in signing Crystal Palace forward Mateta. A lot of other clubs are interested in him now. Michael Bridge also said, as things stand, Spurs do not intend to let Randall Kolo Muani leave, despite all of the reports about him. Tom Barkley from The Sun, he has stated that Spurs are not interested in Raheem Sterling, despite all of the reports about him. Craig, let me ask you very quickly about Muani. I expect we're hoping that we get Juventus, because he only scores against his former clubs.
Wouldn't that be weird? Yeah, he's just not done enough, has he, in the Tottenham shirt? And good to see him score in the week, of course it was. But I can see why the player wants to go out on loan. I can see why the player wants to move clubs. He probably won't even be happy with the amount of minutes he's getting. And, he wants to get into his national team side, doesn't he? Of course he does, for the summer. So not surprising that we're not letting him go, however. But yeah, he's that would be amazing if we got Juventus and he scored the winning goal. It is really strange one.
There is a report in Germany stating that we could be signing a striker called Ricky Norwood from Frankfurt on a free transfer after him beating Robo goalkeeper. Do you know about this one?
Oh yes, we've all seen the video. Yeah. Yeah, I was the one
Just
that said it to music. I was the one that said it to music stupidly. I don't know why I did that.
Craig, he sat in the hotel reception just watching it over and over and over again, just grinning to himself, smiling. He's even sent it to me today and said, "Watch this." And I'm like, "Yes, I've seen it."
The music one that I did, or the original
it doesn't matter.
One?
It doesn't matter what one. He's sitting there watching it constantly. Yeah. Anyway,
it was phenomenal. If you've not got a clue what we're talking about, go on the channel and watch it. One of Chris's videos when they were in Germany in the week, and Ricky Norwood pulls out the most unbelievable strike to beat a goalkeeper that's actually unbeatable. I'm not quite sure how he did it. His hair was all over the place, but wow, what a strike it was.
Pure fluke, but yeah. Yeah. He sat there and said, people have said that it's like Jimmy Greaves and it's like Harry Kane and Messi and Ronaldo. And I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah. You know, it was funny the first few times, and it was like, yeah, okay. And about the 1,000th time of him mentioning it, it was like, okay, mate, okay. Anyway, the Standard have reported that PSV and Hoffenheim have seen bids of around £6 million rejected for Tottenham academy player Callum Olosesi. Tottenham don't want to sanction a permanent exit. Olosesi wants to play abroad, but Spurs prefer a domestic loan. He is set to leave Spurs on loan before the January deadline. I think there would be a great move for him to get a loan of some kind. I'm glad that Spurs have rejected these bids, if I'm honest, Craig, because he has been our under-19 captain in the UEFA Youth League this season. A really top player, has been in and around the first team as well. I think this is a good decision, actually. What do you think?
No, I totally agree. Domestic loan would be the best thing for him, and certainly not selling him with an obligation or any, a loan with an obligation or anything like that. He's the sort of player we need to keep around to see how he develops over the next year or so. What I've seen of him, very, very good player. Very good player, and definitely one to keep hold of. So yeah, happy with that. If he goes out on loan in this country, just a loan, please, and hopefully he comes back with a bit more experience and can even push for a squad place in the first team.
Yeah, I know I've mentioned this one already about Matisse Tell looking to stay at Spurs. This one's also from the Standard, and lots of reports on this one, actually. The Independent have stated that Tottenham have been exploring a possible move of signing Moussa Diaby from Al Ittihad. And Fabrizio Romano, amongst other top journalists, has stated that it looks like he's now off to Inter Milan. Also, reports in Germany are stating that Tottenham have inquired about Serge Gnabry's availability, but the response from the players' camp was priority is Bayern Munich and about a contract extension. Would that have been a good signing? Would you have been excited about Gnabry?
They probably just laughed when Tottenham called him, to be honest with you. Look, ex-Arsenal player, wasn't he? Ripped us apart, actually, in that Champions League game, one of Poch's last games, I think, wasn't it? Really good player, actually. He's really is he quite rapid, from what I remember? He's really fast, isn't he, Gnabry? Really good player. I don't think he'll be coming to Spurs. I think it's because of the Arsenal connection. So sometimes players go to another club coming between Arsenal and Spurs. It doesn't happen very often. But when you're at a club like Bayern Munich, it's always going to be difficult to prize players away, especially if they've got if they get regular football at Bayern. So it would surprise me if this one gets done. Doesn't sound like it's anywhere near, does it? It sounds like it's not going to happen anyway.
Craig, one signing that Spurs did announce today, and he will go straight into the under-21 squad. Tottenham Hotspur have signed Elijah Sawanmi, who joins our academy from West Ham United. The 18-year-old forward joined Hammers in the under-8s and progressed through their youth system, turning professional last summer, capable of playing out wide or as a number 10. The player was top goal scorer for West Ham's under-18s last season. His tally including hat-tricks against Reading and Aston Villa, and helped them win the under-18 Premier League Cup. This is what a lot of the academies do now. They buy top talents, and we seem to do this a lot.
Yeah, I know. I've got no problems with us doing deals like this, because you might find a real gem. And I do know a couple of West Ham fans of mine, friends of mine that are West Ham fans, actually gutted to see him leave for Spurs. They think he's going to be a real talent. So it's going to be interesting to see how he develops, definitely.
Yep. Anything else from you?
Well, the Sterling one we went over. Thank God we're not going to be signing him. I know a lot of people, actually, there's a fair few online said, Sterling could do a job, actually. I personally don't agree. I think he's probably coming to the end of his career now.
What about if it was just a deal until the end of the season?
I think a lot of people would be annoyed by it. They would just see it as like a Timo Werner thing. I can see, look, if he'd done really well at Chelsea, if he'd done well at Arsenal, but he hasn't. So what makes you think he's going to do any better at Tottenham? Some people would say that is he better or the same standard as what we've got as well, like your Tells or your Odebears and all that. Is he any better? He was back in the day. Obviously, the clubs he's been at City, he's been at Liverpool, Arsenal, Chelsea. He's been regardless of what people think of Raheem Sterling, he's had a very successful career and earned a hell of a lot of money doing it. And he was a big part of Gareth Southgate's England set up for years. Of course, Harry Kane loved playing with Raheem Sterling, didn't he? So, personally, it wouldn't be for me. If it was just a loan till the end of the season and he was on reasonable wages, which meant it didn't sacrifice getting anybody else in, for a 6-month loan, if we're really short, I could kind of see the logic, but I wouldn't be all over this one, to be honest with you. Goretzka, really, stick with Goretzka. Goretzka apparently is going to be free in the summer. Spurs interested in the player, or there was rumours we was interested in the player this month. This is a player currently at Bayern Munich, another midfielder. And for me, I think he's 31. For me, I just think we've got a glut of midfielders. Is this the press just pushing this, or is Spurs trying to just buy up every single midfielder? It just seems really weird to me. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I think we always see a lot of rumours and reports just generated because they think that Spurs need to make signings. So I think there's a lot of these sorts of reports going around. I haven't seen anything concrete from anything from reliable journalists on that one, so probably not.
No, and the only other one, Chris, was Bissouma. Galatasaray were over in England, and they were determined to leave with a player. They've got 3 on their list, but Bissouma's right at the top, so they would like to get a deal done for Bissouma, whether that be, they imagine he'd be leaving in January, wouldn't he? And Spurs would get a fee for him. If not, I think he could be heading there in summer, so let's see what happens there. But again, if we let Bissouma go, do we bring in somebody to replace him? Who knows? But Galatasaray, apparently Bissouma is their number 1 target.
Yeah, I would fully expect Bissouma to leave. If you'd have asked me at the start of this window, I'd have probably laid money on that he would have left in January. But given the fact that we have got injuries now to the likes of Bentancur in midfield and, the way that he played that second half against West Ham, I actually think that Thomas Frank has, given him the opportunity to now stay. And he'll probably sign that contract extension and then to put Spurs in a position to then sell and get a good fee at the end of the season. So that's what I expect to happen. Like we said, a big summer coming up, but more importantly, a big next 3 days coming up. Monday is the deadline, 7 p.m. UK time. Let's see what happens in the next 3 days. Craig, thanks as always for joining us, and we will talk to you again soon. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Sunday after the Manchester City game. So hopefully we'll be talking about a win, and Spurs desperately need to get back to winning ways in the Premier League, especially at home at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. No domestic win in 2026 so far. So, hopefully we can get back to winning ways. Thanks so much to everyone for watching and listening. Have a great weekend, and we will see you again very soon. Come on, you Spurs.